Hi, welcome to my channel, Organized with Joy. I'm Joy, and today in this video, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why we buy so much. And this is coming from the perspective of having gone through a no-spend year in 2019, trying to focus on being more intentional with my spending after having gone through that no-spend year moving into 2020. For those of you who are new to my channel, like I mentioned, my name is Joy and I live in the Austin, Texas area, and I started my own business as a professional organizer. And I do a lot of cleaning, organizing, and decluttering content on my channel, so this video is a little bit different. But if you do like that sort of content and you're new to my channel or you just haven't subscribed yet, I would love for you to consider subscribing. So for those of you who are new to my channel or just didn't know this, in 2019 I did a no-spend year, and I actually documented all about that no-spend year over on my blog, and I'll go ahead and link that in the description box below. But I basically each month would assess how I did and just give some thoughts and reflections on just the process of going through a no-spend year. And I actually didn't have my YouTube channel until November of 2019, so I didn't document every month on my channel. However, at the end of the year, I did a two-part video where I kind of talked about my experience doing a no-spend year, what I learned, and what I wanted to do different moving forward. So I can go ahead and link those videos if you're interested in watching those. So moving into 2020, I decided I wanted to do what I called my intentional spending year. And I wanted some sort of framework for myself because I didn't want to just go back to the way things were before I did my no-spend year because of everything I had learned during that year. I knew that it would be easy to get back into old habits. However, the problem was I didn't really put a lot of framework or rules around what exactly I wanted to do. I did have some general basic ideas about what that would look like, and that was first of all supporting small businesses or thrifting when I could. And so I wasn't just purchasing kind of like throwaway decor or clothes, but I was being more intentional with where I was purchasing my items. But because I didn't really have well-defined rules, I guess you could say, the way I did with my no-spend year, I felt like the shopping was like a slippery slope, and it was easy to just fall back into some old habits. Not all the old habits that I had, but all this to say, it is a slippery slope, and it's hard to put parameters on myself and trying to figure all of that out. All of this really got me to thinking about how deep-seated my habits are, and I just was thinking about how an addict behaves when they go back to that drug of choice. And I really hate using the word addict or even drug for shopping, but truly shopping can be an addiction. And going through the no-spend year and looking back, I really feel like it was for me. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But basically, these habits of shopping were a slippery slope. And just like if an addict goes back to their drug of choice, whether that's drugs or alcohol or even food or you name it, there's a lot of things that people get addicted to. It's just a slippery slope. It's hard to find balance in all that. So because I was interested in all this, I did a little bit of research on shopping addiction and on the connection between any sort of addiction and the dopamine surge. And I came across this article on Psychology Today where they were talking about a study that was done with monkeys. And basically the premise was people often believe that dopamine is released when they receive that reward. So for someone who likes to shop, when they acquire that piece that they've been longing for, that's when the dopamine is released. That's what a lot of people think. But after this study, they realized that the dopamine is actually released in anticipation of the reward. And so the study was done with monkeys where they had to press a button 10 times in order to receive a reward. And when they studied the brains of the monkeys, they were actually releasing dopamine during the times when they were pressing the buttons, and it dropped, or it was like less dopamine released when they actually received the reward. So I found all this very interesting, that we really don't get that dopamine surge from acquiring the item. We actually get the dopamine surge just searching for it and thinking about it, and planning for what we're going to use it for. Right now, as I'm recording this video, it's actually the summer of 2020, which is still during the global coronavirus pandemic. And I feel like now more than ever, people are just looking for that dopamine surge. There are maybe several things in our lives that were taken away from us that we can no longer do, that were giving us that dopamine surge. And so now we're looking for ways that we can experience that. So not only does it give you that dopamine surge to find that perfect item, then you purchase it, which we just learned from that article. That's not even really where you get that dopamine surge from, but you purchase that item and you think, I guess maybe during your planning phase of how am I going to use this, and which color do I like, and which size should I get, and all of that, when we're getting those dopamine surges, that is when we think we're going to be happy once we have that in our home. But the truth is, what happens is the opposite. So we think we'll be happy, we purchase it, and that reinforces a habit. It reinforces a habit of purchasing something to try to find happiness. But when that doesn't bring fulfillment or happiness, then the cycle starts all over again. And so it does the opposite. We think it'll bring us happiness, we purchase it, it doesn't, so we look for something else. And when we give into that temptation to go ahead and purchase it because we think it'll make us happy, then it reinforces the habit, and the next time it's harder to say no to the temptation. I think this is probably true in all areas of life, poor habits or bad habits. When we give into those bad habits, the more we give into them, the harder it is to say no to it. So knowing that I am prone to have this addiction to shop, it makes me realize I need to be more intentional and put parameters on myself as I move forward. I definitely don't feel like I have it all figured out, and I for sure think that I still struggle with that thought process, even if it's just subconscious, of it's just that one last thing that I want that will make me happy. I think this on a conscious level, but on a subconscious level, I do think I still struggle with those thoughts. I'm also learning to balance this idea of wanting to make my home beautiful and cozy for my family, wanting to be well dressed and be put together, with curbing that desire to shop. And so it's definitely a balancing act and figuring that out. And I'll definitely have to do a lot of soul searching to try to figure out how I can do that well. I think the positive thing that has come out of the last year and a half, just doing a no spend year and then moving into 2020, doing an intentional spending year, is just my awareness of it, bringing it to the forefront of my mind. And I feel like that's always the best place to start when you want to make changes in your life, is to recognize what's happening and to not be in denial of your thought processes or the decisions you're making. When we're aware and we know some of these psychological reasons behind why we make the decisions we make, it makes it easier to logically think through how we can make changes moving forward. I do want to sit down and try to come up with a plan for the rest of 2020, because we do still have, let's see, November, December, 5 more months of this year, which is a lot of time. So I want to come up with a more concise plan for myself, trying to be more intentional with my spending. I'm also thinking about 2021 and what I want that to look like. You know, the marking of the passing of a year doesn't necessarily have to mean, okay, I'm gonna make big changes for the next year, but I do think it's a great marker to reevaluate your life and your decisions and the way you're living, and try to come up with a plan moving forward. So I am going to think about what I can do in 2021. So I've done a no spend year, an intentional spending year, and I'm trying to think of what I can do in 2021 to continue to just push myself to evaluate the decisions I make. Well, I hope this video was in some way inspiring or encouraging or challenging to you today, and I appreciate you watching my video today. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to my channel, I would love for you to consider subscribing.